Just also today, it's worth just noting that there were 2 attacks in France, one a knife-wielding attack on a soldier in Paris, and the other a hammer-wielding attacker shouting Allahu Akbar, who attacked 2 women on the street in Lyon. We're getting sort of used to this in Europe, but whether or not it's something we ought to become used to is another question.
Of course you shouldn't get used to it. In fact, that's exactly what they want, because you say this is not going to be a massive revolution of an invading army. It's going to be a slow takeover of Europe. And if you get used to the knife attacks and the subway explosions, that's exactly what they want. And you're looking mostly at a second generation of immigrants.
Well, that's right. I mean, the phenomenon I describe in my book is what I say is just the massive turnover of population in Europe, the basically completely open external borders and the absent internal borders in Europe that mean that a lot of European governments, the British government isn't as bad as this as some, but a lot of European governments have basically no idea who's in their country, where they're from, who they are, what their affiliations are. We keep discovering time and time again that the people who carry out attacks like the one today, the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't, are people with backgrounds where they're affiliated with terrorist groups. They've
march with this group, and as night falls, people fear it's going to get really ugly. Meanwhile, 4 minutes after the hour, we're going to monitor that and bring you the developments as they happen with Mike Togan himself and maybe Will Carr as well. He's on another side of the city. Meanwhile, later on, NRA spokesperson Dana Lash will join us to talk about the protests and give you more details and background on this story that's been brewing for quite some time. Now to 2 big international stories that we woke up with today, especially on Fox and Friends this morning. And it was, of course, the attack in London at about 8:20 local time and another missile launched by North Korea late Thursday. First, we're going to go over to England, where an explosion on a crowded subway train left dozens injured. Kitty Logan is live in London. Kitty, we've been through this far too many times this year.
Yes, and yet again, Brian, ISIS has claimed responsibility for planting this device, although police here in London are treating that claim with somewhat a sceptical view. They're still investigating the trail of the suspects and potential accomplices who left that bomb on the busy commuter train this morning. As you say, the device detonated around 8:30 this morning local time at the height of the rush hour. At that time, trains on that line are typically very crowded. There was panic, as you can imagine, also on the platform, with eyewitness reports of people being trampled. Witnesses also describe a flash and smoke, and many of the 29 injured have burns. Now, images of the device show wires protruding out of the plastic carrier bag, which was used to transport it. Police are calling this a terrorist incident, and the government held an emergency meeting in response. British Prime Minister Theresa May says the device could have caused significant harm. It is the 5th terror attack in the UK this year, and today the Prime Minister announced the terror threat level here would be increased to critical. Now, that goes along with new